Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those who may not know me, I'm Jennifer Donison. I'm a board member and vice president with DCAO, and I'm joined by Julie Gill, accredited divorce coach, mediator, educator, and someone I've had the privilege of working alongside professionally for many years now. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me.
Mhm. Today is really just about giving people a clearer understanding of who DCAO is, what we offer, what membership actually looks like in practice, and why organizations like this matter. At its core, DCAO exists to support professionalism, ethical practice, education, and collaboration within the divorce coaching profession. We're seeing interest in divorce coaching and collaborative support generally. And with that comes important conversations around how professionals work together, how they're trained, and how families are being supported during separation. And that's honestly partly why Julie and I became so passionate about education and professional development in this field in the first place. Through the work that we've done together at Breakforward Divorce Coach Institute, we've really seen the importance of strong professional community, ongoing learning, and clear role understanding when supporting families responsibly. So, Julie, from your perspective, why do you think organizations like DCAO are important in this field?
So I think these professional organizations are essential, honestly, in a nutshell. I know when we created Break Forward, the two of the things that we really wanted to do is ensure that there was professional training, and standards were set, right? That we had high standards for this work. And thanks to DCAO, there's now a home for that, right? So it's really hard, or it has been hard as a coach to work kind of in isolation and in silos. And DCAO is building a community for us, right? And that
Mhm.
community, I think, provides structure, education, both professional and public, which is important. Accreditation and networking opportunities. The DCAO community, I think, will develop credibility, awareness, visibility for our profession, which is brilliant. And it also has the opportunity to advocate for us and for clients, for mentorship, to collaborate with other organizations. And I think there's a real opening to define the different types of coaching out there and to hold a place for all of us. So in a nutshell, again, I think it's essential for us to have
Mhm.
these communities and for TCAO to exist.
Absolutely. And one of the things I really appreciate about DCAO is the emphasis on professionalism and collaboration. In this work, you're often interacting with lawyers, mediators, therapists, financial specialists, and really a variety of people supporting families through difficult transitions. And I think that one of the most important parts of strong professional practice is the ongoing conversation around things like ethics, boundaries, role clarity, and how we collaborate effectively with one another. Because strong collaboration really starts with professionals understanding both their role and how to work well alongside others. So, Julie, what do you notice when professionals have strong role clarity and boundaries?
I think the benefit is always to the client, which is what we want, right? So in the case of divorce coaches, and I will be honest, I call myself a separation coach, because not everybody's married and not everybody gets divorced. So just put that out there if I kind of go back and forth. We need to focus on our own strengths. So as coaches, we need to focus on our own strengths and our training and our ability and our capacity, right? So in addition to kind of what you hear out in the world, ensuring that, we don't cross into other professions, we need to make sure we're not crossing over into other areas that we don't have the skills or the professional experience. And I really mean professional experience and not personal experience, right?
Mhm.
So some of it, that clarity, us having our clarity around our own roles is so important because other than that, we're going to have scope creep, and that is not a good thing for clients. It is not a good thing for our profession or our credibility, or your reputation or your success as a coach, right? So
Mhm.
knowing our own boundaries, being very, very clear on what they are, I think helps us do no harm, which to me is still front and center with clients. And B, manage those client expectations, right? So our role shouldn't create more fear of the unknown. And I think if we have coaches that don't know very clearly what their boundaries are and what their role is, we do kind of get that scope creep, and we're not able to highlight the profession for all the good that it really does.
Right. I'm seeing a question from Steve that can you please give examples of how a divorce coach works with and alongside a divorce lawyer, which is perfect because my next question to you was, why do you think collaboration matters so much in this work? So I'll let you answer that, and then I can specifically address how a divorce coach, some examples of how
Okay.
divorce coaches working with
Yeah, well,
lawyers.
I think it takes a village, right? Sometimes to navigate a separation process. Sometimes you just can't sit at the kitchen table and sort everything out. Um, and we each have our roles, but they all work together, and understanding how they work together is important, not only for coaches, but for all of the other people in our community, all the other professionals in our community to understand that the value that we bring, right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of practical aspects of separation that aren't supported in some of the more traditional roles. Um, and clients are seeking out different supports, and we need to respect that. And I think we've been open to that. So that collaboration and cooperating and referring is truly where we create those creative solutions and unique solutions for the clients without imposing kind of traditional, very set structures on them. Right. So I think it's kind of a lot of professionals, and you'll speak specific to the lawyers, but a lot of the professionals saying, how would a coach and a mediator, or how specifically would this coach and this mediator work together? Is the mediator or the lawyer that really strong on the financial side, therefore they want more coaching for parenting stuff, or vice versa. So it's kind of all of us knowing what our strengths and weaknesses are and teaming up with the right people so that we've got that whole support system around the client.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And more specifically for divorce coaches and divorce lawyers, I find that a lot of my clients who are feeling very overwhelmed and unsure of what to actually even bring to a lawyer, what is legal advice
Yeah.
versus just emotional overwhelm. That's something that I feel is really important when we talk about role clarity. How do divorce coaches not step on legal toes? What is in our scope of what we can actually discuss with the client? And what is it that we want to prepare them for while bringing them the opportunity to speak with their lawyers and get that advice? Is it something where we're going to create lists for them so they understand what questions that they want to ask their lawyers? Is it something that over, the weeks or months that we do have the practical in and outs of the days that we are obtaining a list that they want to bring to their lawyers with questions and different things that they're going to want to figure out from their legal perspective. So
Yeah.
just really helping them prepare for their lawyer meetings and getting the most out of the lawyer meetings without being overwhelmed and having them being structured. So when they're prepared and entering those meetings, they're having an opportunity to get the most out of their meetings with their lawyers and understanding when they leave the meeting what it is that they're really to do with that information.
Yeah, I mean, from a coaching perspective, my clients will tell me they were more confident and felt prepared going into whether it was collaborative meeting or mediation or just a meeting, even a call with their lawyers. Um, they understood the process that they were in. They understood what the expectations of they had, the expectations of them as well, sorry, in those
Yeah.
meetings. They understood, to your point, which professional they needed to lean on for what things. So
Hmm.
lawyers, they were like, well, I didn't send that 3-page letter to my lawyer
Right.
um, because I realized after talking that that wasn't a legal issue. Um, right? They understood, which I think is one of the most important things. They understood what their positions were. They understood what their wishes were. They understood what their goals were because they'd taken the time to figure out what they needed and wanted. And
Hmm.
they were better able to articulate it, which I
Right.
think is brilliant, right? So when working with the lawyers weren't having to do as much of the deep dive, the hand holding. They were prepared for those meetings. And in mediation, I will tell you, I see better questions being asked. I see clarity on expectations. I see more realistic asks.
Hmm.
I don't see as much of the you just need, you were wrong, you need to leave the house and we're not going to talk about this anymore. I see kind of more of an understanding that in order to move something forward, they need to work with the other party in some capacity.
Right.
Um, but I will say, I just want to mention this, they don't always tell me. So even on intakes in mediation and intermediation, we seem to still be like the guilty secret. So
Yeah.
I will hear I have a coach or I have someone, but I don't want to disclose to the other party. I don't really want you to say anything. I haven't told my lawyer even that I'm working with you because
Yeah.
there's still some negativity around it. And I think that's somewhere that DCAO really has, an opportunity to kind of change how that works, change some of these models, right? And the conversations that are happening around it.
I really think that's such an interesting point, especially because I think there's such a great opportunity for family lawyers to understand that divorce coaches can actually be a very good referral system for them as well. Because many of my clients that will come to me are contemplating separation, or they're just starting the separation process and saying, I don't know what to do from here, and I don't know what processes are available to me, and I'm not sure if I need a bulldog lawyer. Where am I going to go? And the opportunity to guide them to the appropriate lawyer for them is sometimes really helpful for the client. And when I'm collaborating with different lawyers and I know the type of lawyer that I'm working with, it's very helpful for the client to get that appropriate support. So, one of the things I did want to mention is that lawyers and mediators and other professionals in this field are definitely a good referral base for us to send to because of that. So I love that opportunity to work with professionals that are wonderful ones in the community that we have.
Yeah,
So
it's great that we can refer it, but it's also kind of asking the clients why do they want X type of lawyer, the bulldog, the shark, whatever they're coming at you with,
right,
to just
yeah,
kind of reframe that and go, what are the issues that you think you're going to face? And
right,
really, do you understand what kind of lawyer you need and what is really important to you? Is it that they listen to you? Is it that, they've got an assistant or a clerk that answers the calls, like you're going to get same day, like what is it so that
yeah,
they can ask the right questions when they're trying to find a lawyer?
yeah. And for DCAO, when people hear the word membership, I think sometimes they assume it just means joining an organization or being listed somewhere. But for many professionals, I think it's much more than that. It's about credibility, continuing education, professional connection, and being part of a broader community of people doing similar work. And I also think organizations like DCAO help divorce coaches feel more recognized, as you mentioned, and
Mhm.
established within the broader family law and dispute resolution community. A lot of professionals are looking for opportunities to continue learning, growing, and connecting with others in the field. And this work can feel really isolating at times. And that's something that DCAO is actively working on through webinars, newsletters, educational programming, and professional networking events. We recently just hosted a networking event last month. It was a movie night that sold out
Oh.
super quick. And it was really wonderful seeing lawyers, mediators, coaches, and other professionals all connecting together in one space. The Law Society of Ontario also granted an hour and a half hours of professionalism accreditation for the event, which was incredibly exciting for us.
And
I
there's
also
another one coming up, right?
Yeah, there's
Another
another
movie
run
night
coming
coming
up.
up.
That's right. Yes, next month. So we're excited to continue that because I think that the conversations that everyone was able to have, it was really interesting, and just the different professionals that people were meeting there. It was really nice. I mean, I know a lot of people in the small circle of professionals here, and I still met new people who I'm now started to discuss different collaborations and things with. So it's a
Well, nice
really
to meet in person, I'm sure, as well,
oh
right? Like it's just so nice again to not be so isolated and
yeah.
siloed.
Yeah, after, the whole pandemic and everyone online, it's just such a different feel when you get that in-person connection. That aura and vibe is different. There's so many people, even with DCAO, that I never met in person, who I've been working with since the beginning of this organization. And it was just such a nice feeling to have that opportunity to meet them in person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Again, more of that creating community.
Yeah. The movie night, we watched The Squid and the Whale, which was so amazing because, first of all, I never saw the movie, and if you've never seen it, I do recommend seeing it. But it left me pretty gut wrenched for many reasons because you can connect really well to the content, and you see so many different families going through situations that are similar. So it rings quite true, but it brought up some amazing conversations after the film, and all the different professionals were able to contribute and have the conversation back and forth. It was almost like a TIFF movie night, and I don't know if you've been to the TIFF events where the director is in the front and
Yeah,
you
I
have
have.
that question. I love that. The energy is flowing, and it's just one of those really exhilarating experiences. And it was the same thing here. We were able to talk about how different professionals helped their clients and what their perspective was on the movie and those type of characters. And it was just such a great opportunity to have those back and forth discussions. And I think many people were able to get different perspectives and learn just by being present in the room with different professionals. So it was really amazing. Really, really nice.
I'm sure. I'm sorry to have missed it, but touring
Yeah,
is a bit of a
Julie.
it's a bit of a trek for me. You know,
It's
every
okay.
organization, every Ontario organization will get, bombarded with the everything can't be Toronto centric.
Yeah.
You guys will hear that as well. So, but
Yes.
I think for the first, I mean, it looked brilliant, and I was sorry I didn't make the trek, but I might do it in June.
Yes, that would be nice. Um, so Julie, what's being a part? I know that you didn't make the movie night, but what has being a part of DCO meant to you?
Maybe, I started separationcoach.com in 2011. Right. So I've been doing this work for a while now. Because I saw the need then. I knew I couldn't get, I had people that wanted to come to mediation, wanted to work with me, and they couldn't get the other party to participate. Right. So I knew there was another need there for clients. So I started doing this work, a lot of it on the financial side. And along with you, we have advocated for coaches to have a home with other organizations. And we didn't have any success with that. Um, so while DCAO is still relatively new to me, it's really exciting to be part of a community now. Like we haven't had that, right? We've kind of been trying to build our own. So exciting for that to hopefully lend my experience, to help train and mentor newer coaches, to be part of the growth of coaching as a viable profession in
Mhm.
its own right. I think DCAO just lends so much credibility to that and it being a whole community versus my lone voice or your lone voice, or maybe you get Jennifer and I in a room together. This just makes it just, I keep saying community, but I really feel like that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's we're all kind of going in the same direction. We're all learning from each other. And that connection just, it's like priceless. You just can't buy the connections and the relationships that you build, either for, professional successes or personal successes, actively participating in organizations like this. There really isn't anything better for you
Hmm.
as you move forward as a coach.
Yeah. And I would hear of different divorce coaches once in a while. Oh, that person's a divorce coach. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Oh, they do what I do. That's great. But having a place where you know where the divorce coaches are landing, the professional ones that have taken the opportunity to become professional divorce coaches and join the community is such a nice feeling. Like I mentioned before, where you're not feeling isolated. You're able to
Yeah.
bounce ideas back and forth with one another and really understand what other people are facing, like you may be, and having the opportunity to figure out things together. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the divorce coaches, Leona, who's actually here, we connected offline before DCAO, and we realized that we lived 5 minutes away from each other. So having the opportunity to connect and really just have that other divorce coach to really just understand different things that we both similarly go through was just such a nice,
Yeah.
supportive feeling. Things like that, it's just definitely worth its weight in gold to have that community together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to
Sorry.
say,
I'm
yeah,
so
why?
excited about community.
I know. And so, why do you think professionals benefit from continued learning and connection?
I think um so I was on the board at Family Mediation Canada. I'm the former chair of FIDRIO. I received the President's Award from OAFM a couple of years ago. Like, I truly understand the benefits of connection and being part of a community, and understanding my responsibility, my personal responsibility with accreditation and ongoing learning, right? And the
Hmm.
power of that learning. So, I mean, I think it's interesting, anybody in the larger family law community understands what truly small place it is. Right?
Yeah.
This community is not as big as people think it is. And we learn by connecting and watching others as much as we do from the formal learning. Right? And you can't get it unless you've got this community, unless you've got this organization. How do you get those other influences? Right? It can't just be all social. Um, so I think the benefits obviously include mentorship, right? Skill advancement, partnerships.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, just somebody to phone and go, I have this client, I have this case, I have this situation I've never had before. I don't know if I should refer out. If I need to refer it, I don't even know who to refer out to.
Hmm.
All of that, building your network, builds that network for your clients as well,
Hmm.
right? And I think that continued learning is not just the formal training. It is all the stuff that you get from being part of an organization like DCAO and you get
Hmm.
from building those relationships. So I think
Right.
that feeds into our practices and our successes.
I agree. Yeah. And on that, what qualities do you think truly matter in professionals doing this work?
Oh, is that a trick question? We're going to have all the obvious ones. Um, I'm not going to say to be qualified to do what you do. I mean, the basics, like you need your table stakes. And on top of that, obviously, it's professionalism, right?
Mhm.
Like we can have some fun. We can be maybe more lighthearted or not as formal or, creative than certain other professions. But I think there still needs to be that professionalism. To me, it's authenticity. So what makes you you, like coaching in a way that seems very authentic because people will know and that's not something they're going to connect with or want to be influenced by or supported by. Honesty in our own abilities. Um, Really important to know where our lines, and to your point earlier, your question about clarity, and boundaries.
Mhm.
Curiosity, right? Don't assume that you know everything. So being curious, I think,
Yeah.
is an amazing quality that you need to have. Obviously, good communication skills, kind of being non-judgmental and caring, right? I
Yeah.
mean, just genuinely caring about people. I don't think you can do this work if you just want to create lists or, if you don't care about people, I just don't think that this is the place for you, even though I do a lot of financial stuff. Like, I
Mm.
still understand that those numbers have value and they mean something for those people. That's not a number on a page, right? So I think sometimes it's just that, and I didn't want to say empathy. I really just mean caring about people when they're where they're at, meeting them where they're at and caring for them there.
Hmm. And you know, it's so true. You have to have that caring and empathetic perspective for people and that are going through something like this because it's obviously very difficult. But it's so important to also distinguish what somebody who, for example, may just be going through a divorce and then thinking that they could coach someone because of their own experience, having the ability to make sure that it's not just the experience that they've had, although obviously life experience is very valuable and it brings a lot to a coach. It's also something that you need more than that to actually be a part of a professional divorce coach organization. And there's from I think mine and your perspective, there needs to be that training, there needs to be that understanding of what a coach is and what it's not, and how you can actually help clients as opposed to negatively impacting them because you may not know what it is that you should or should not do.
Yeah, and I think it leads me to another point that I really wanted to make today, and it's something that I'm thankful for DCAO for existing and being part of this and this community, creating this community. Um, I think for too long, others have defined what we are, right? So whether it was lawyers or people that didn't didn't appreciate what we were doing, and from 2011 on, I've been hearing about all the arguments against coaches. So I mean, I love the momentum that we're getting now, but we have heard we're not credible, we're not regulated. We don't understand the legal issues or the boundaries of providing legal information. We don't have any training. We might have too much influence or too much of a voice with our clients.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the value of being an active member with DCO, and I do mean active, not just putting when you started earlier, like just putting your name on a list, being an
Hmm.
active member, creating that connection and the standards and the accountability is the opportunity to shape and define our profession,
Yeah.
right? And soon I know DCAO will have that ability to do the accreditation for that as well. But it should be us defining what we do,
Hmm.
again, with that clarity and the boundaries and being really confident in our abilities and how we work with other professionals and get that education out there. So when I say education for professionals, I mean coaches and the public, there's also this other group that is the other professionals in the family law community that I don't think have a good understanding, right? And I think with an organization behind us, we have a much better chance of having our voices heard. And again, to finding all those different types of coaches. I mean, we've got strategic coaches, we've got financial coaches, we've got co-parenting, we've got
Hmm.
post-separation, we've got so many different types of coaches. And I think sometimes that kind of looks like we're diluting the profession, and it's not. It's just that we need to better define it and what it is
Hmm.
and what those standards are, right? And I think that's something that DCAO and all of us participating is going to be able to do, which is great. I mean, the clients are the clients are expressing their need for this. We didn't just come out of nowhere.
Hmm.
We're really not that new. Getting organized might look newer, but you know, there's so much possibility for advancement here and
Yeah.
growth, but we've got to do it the right way. And I think without DCAO, it might have, we hear the Wild West. I think it could have
Hmm.
looked a little a little bit more like the Wild West
Hmm.
over the years. And I think now that's not happening.
Hmm.
Um, and there's kind of a demand for accountability, and that's what we're doing.
All of what you said is so true, and I love that you mentioned all those points. And it just reminds me of mediation and where it was years ago, and
Yeah.
how nobody thought that it was something that was part of the ADR process, and it was just another profession that was, what is mediation, and should clients actually participate, and is it appropriate? And then as soon as the standards started to set and people started recognizing the importance to this process and how it was helpful to keep clients either out of court or with more resolution, it was something that started now becoming accredited, and you had to have standards, and you had to have the exact same as where we are with divorce coaches, ethics and responsibilities and all these different things that we're creating, because I truly believe that divorce coaching is going to be advancing where mediation is today, where it's going to be just another, not necessarily ADR process, but support for people going through separation
Right.
and divorce that's recognized and has a greater understanding by different professionals in the field to say, hey, this is what you need. You need a divorce coach to help you with the practical day to day and all of those things. So I'm excited about DCAO and how we are going to be creating that for the community and for people who are going through separation and divorce that need this. So
Yeah.
it's very
I'd like us
exciting.
not to be a secret anymore.
Yes, no more secrets.
No more secrets.
I'm just seeing a comment or a question. Can you comment on the accessibility and patience of coaches as compared to lawyers and mediators?
No, we're not touching the patience thing. No.
You know, um, I'll say that for me, it's just such a different profession. Mediators are unbiased and they're neutral, and they're supposed to be anyways, and they're there trying to facilitate the conversation and help the parties reach agreements. And the lawyers are really there to advocate for their clients and give them understanding of what their legal obligations are, and what it is that they are entitled to. But divorce coaches don't do that. So what they do is their job is to really sit there and help find a roadmap for clients, to help them with the different day in and day outs, and to help them put things into perspective and have goals put in place. So it's very different. It's such a different role where I don't know. I mean, mediators do have to be patient for sure. I know as one, and I'm sure lawyers have to as well. But it's just a different role as a divorce coach. So I think that the bedside manner is different in the sense that you know what to expect, and you know what your role is with the client to help guide them, like I said, on their roadmap. What do you think, Julie? Do you think that
Yeah,
there's
I think the accessibility, I mean, you and I know, like, we coach very differently, right? You are much more accessible than I am. I'm kind of like, you got to give me at least 48 hours to book it. And it's a book an appointment. I don't do that kind of instant emergency. I need to text you. That's just not how I do it. But it doesn't mean that if that's what you're looking for, there are coaches out there that will do that, right? So I think we know this is not a secret. We know we have a lack of diversity in the family law profession. I think mediators and divorce coaches are changing that. So you can, hopefully, the more we grow these professions, you will see more people that look like you and sound like you, that have been through things that have you've been through, right? And we're bringing a different kind of diversity, not just in skills, but in backgrounds and culture and everything that comes with it. And I think that's going to be hugely valuable in people being able to connect, clients being able to connect to their coach in a way
Mhm.
they may not be able to with their lawyer. And to some extent, I feel like, depending on the complexity of your situation, like, I don't really care if my surgeon is really nice to me. Do they know what they're doing? Do they have my best? And like, this is their job.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. Keep me informed. Let me make decisions. Give me all the information to make those decisions. I sometimes feel like that with lawyers too, depending on the case. Like, sometimes you just want a lawyer that's going to do exactly what they need to do to advocate for your legal rights,
Right.
right? And that's okay.
Hmm.
But then there's some other pieces of that that might not get managed. And then there's other lawyers that are absolutely wonderful. Like they might care too much and get a little swayed, right? But I think for too long, lawyers have kind of been the go-to, the gatekeepers. And I know lovely lawyers and lovely lawyer on the field, on the screen. This is kind of a very general comment. There's been we can kind of be all things to all people, and I don't think that's fair to the clients or the lawyers. Right. So I think that's where finding the different professions and how we all work together and knowing our roles and our boundaries, I
Hmm.
think is just super beneficial for the lawyers and the clients and the mediators. Like I love it when I have somebody that is acting very high conflict or disengaged or, in mediation and they have a coach,
Yeah.
right? Even if I'm doing shuttle, I love being able to say to the coach, here's the concern about going forward with this. You know, can you, I'm going to leave you in a breakout room. Can you help explain this? You have the dialogue, you have the relationship. Can you help explain whatever this topic is with
Hmm.
your clients so that we might be able to move forward? Like that's brilliant. And I can't always do that with a lawyer, right? If I've got, it's just a different relationship and a different connection that the coaches have.
Hmm.
Um, some people need it a lot, and some clients just kind of want to go, I want to book an hour with you before I have a specific milestone that I'm hitting. Or I want to, can I just chat about how I feel about this financial disclosure? Or I'm just nervous. Can I just vent? Or, they piss me off. Can I just vent? And it's not a legal role. It's not a role that I can deal with in mediation, but it is a role that I can add value to in coaching,
Hmm.
right?
And it's also something where when a divorce coach is preparing someone for mediation, I find that mediation tends to stay on track more because they know what their
Correct.
asks are, they know what they don't have to react to or they don't have to accept. They feel a little bit more supported when they have the
Yeah.
coach in their corner, knowing that they're understanding the process with more depth. So that's
Yeah.
important for a lot of clients.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
I
and
think
that's
that accessibility is important too, right? Like, can you block, you're a lawyer if you're in a mediation and you don't want to participate with your lawyer, the lawyer doesn't want to participate. Um, can you block off an hour to say, oh, well, I need to be able to call your office and get a legal opinion in mediation? You're more likely going to be able to set up that structure with a coach, right? To get that support if you need it in mediation. Right. So I mean, I think from an accessibility perspective, I think coaches can be more accessible
mhm.
than lawyers often, right? And have different response times and as they should. They're different roles.
And that's where I think that DCAO is going to help the public and the different professionals recognize who is trained to help
Yeah.
clients in that capacity. Because you definitely would not want somebody who is not trained to help a client, helping them in mediation. It would be derailed faster than anything, and it would be very traumatic for the client and everyone else involved and for the families. So having the ability to have divorce coaches sit in a home where it's recognized as professional and credible and all of those things is just such an important role for us to have as divorce coaches to sit in that.
Yeah. And I think for DCAO to have that advocacy piece too, that makes sure that coaches are at the table when there's decision making and when they're, and I don't mean with clients, I mean in the community, the larger community,
Hmm.
right? That
Hmm.
we've got access, the coaches have access to the financial professionals and the mediators and the arbitrators and the lawyers, and that we're now part of or included in those conversations where
Yeah.
to date we haven't really been because there's been some, there's been some negativity, rightly so, because there have been coaches that haven't been properly trained
Yeah.
and through wonderful intentions, and a good heart coming from a great place and wanting to help have done some damage, let's say. Um, and then it's just shut people off to coaching. But it's like it doesn't matter what profession it is, there's always a negative experience,
Hmm.
right? You can't color every coach with the same experience you had with one because we wouldn't mediate, we wouldn't have lawyers. I mean, there's more lawyer jokes than our mediator or coach jokes, right? Like if you believed all of that stuff, you know that none of these professions would exist, right? So it's kind of getting over that hump and going, what are the hurdles that people that have been against coaches, what are they and how do we remove those obstacles from it continuing, right, going forward?
Hmm. I love this in the comment because in the comment section, can you comment on your observations of the client's divorce experience with and without a divorce coach? I can. I'll let you, Julie, comment on more of what you've been commenting on the process its own. But I'll say for one of the biggest advantages for me to be able to work alongside somebody who's going through separation as a divorce coach is I see the differences in their co-parenting abilities. And I know not all divorces involve children, but for me specifically, I deal mostly with families with children. And I see the differences on how a co-parenting relationship can be absolutely kiboshed. And then I see that when a divorce coach is involved, it's very helpful. And that's way after the separation and divorce are finalized. And now these two co-parents have to continue parenting and having these innocent children that are involved that have to have their parents either at war continually or actually in a space where they're able to co-parent effectively. And it doesn't always mean perfectly. And there's some situations, obviously, where that's not possible. But having one person at least be composed enough to understand their boundaries and what it is that they are going to be able to control and not control is super important for us as divorce coaches to be able to train or to teach our clients what to do so that they are going to get out of this in the best place and they aren't going to be so overwhelmed with everything else going on around them that's going to continue. But Julie, what about you? So during, what do you feel that the experience of a client would be with and without a divorce coach during the process?
I think the resolution or the settlement sticks more. I mean, I do a lot of the financial stuff, right? And I find so many without a divorce coach, without me helping out on just putting the 13.1 into a different format that they can understand and explaining what number is in what box and why it's there. Not just that it's there, but why is that important and what are the consequences of that? And them going, oh, now I see it in that format and putting notes in, like I understand it,
Yeah.
that they're sticking versus I get people coming to coaching, which is a little late, or mediation afterwards going, I agreed to this, but I didn't have any clue what those numbers were. Like I truly did not understand what I was agreeing to.
Hmm.
And I do hear that all too often. I hear that from people coming out of a collaborative meeting that find me. They've already started the collaborative process, and it's, I have no idea what happened in that meeting. My lawyer said we were going to talk about this. They weren't prepared, so we started talking about this, but then I wasn't prepared to talk about that. And it was, well, we can't get in. If you don't make a decision today, we're not going to get another date for 3 months. And they start to feel panicked in the process and just agree to things because they don't want it to continue and they're not aware of what they're agreeing to. So for me, I see the coaching being hugely advantageous for just people being prepared.
Hmm.
You love
Hmm.
that word, Jennifer. Like
I
people being
do.
prepared to make informed
Yeah.
decisions. And sometimes we want to, as a whole, I don't mean coaches, but people want to save people from themselves. Or
Yes.
this is a good deal, just take it, or kind of generalize it. This is the best you're going to get, or we don't want this to drag out any longer.
Right.
And they don't understand, like they need to know where they're at,
And they
right?
need to know they can slow it down. It's not something that they
Yeah,
need to answer now so that they are able to make those informed decisions while
yeah,
really being able to weigh out and understand the pros and the cons, as
yeah.
opposed to just answering because they feel the pressure to.
Yeah. And give
So,
them the
yeah,
confidence to ask their lawyers. I do see like there's still some fear, right? Like my lawyer knows best.
intimidating.
And
Yeah.
they cost a lot of money for people,
Yeah.
right? They know what's best. I don't understand the law. I'm not going to ask a question. And I
Yeah.
think to me, coaching is also great for like, well, how do you want to frame that? If you're really afraid, do you want to draft an email and send it to them and, just say, can you please explain this to me? I find they're very afraid to question their
Yeah.
lawyer, even, but the questions still exist and they come up after. I don't know why I didn't ask this, and that's really sad. I don't know why I
Hmm.
didn't ask this, and now they start to regret the decisions that they made because they didn't have enough support to go, just ask. They're just people. Ask
Yeah.
them the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will explain it to you. And if you didn't understand that, then you can ask again, or maybe we can talk about it. Yeah, it's not asking questions, and I think coaching provides them that confidence. They have
Hmm.
enough information to feel empowered to do some of that work that
Hmm.
they need to work to live with the decisions they make. So I see a big difference there with kind of regret afterwards.
Hmm. And also, probably when they do hear some things from their lawyers, at times they don't understand and they
Yeah.
lose focus. And when they get off the call or whatever the meeting that they have, and they're just like, I have no idea what just happened. because they're confused, they're overwhelmed. There's so much that's going on in their minds that they're not really able sometimes to absorb all the information, especially when it
Yeah.
is way out of their normal understanding of what,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'll put it out there, one of the most, I think one of the biggest challenges they clients have is honestly understanding separation agreements. They think they've agreed to everything. Everything is good. They get the separation agreement they
yeah,
have to sign. I cannot tell you how many times they've come to me, not a lawyer, come to me and said, I don't even know what this means.
yeah,
What do these words mean? Like it's their agreements, but it doesn't look like one by the time it's put into a separation agreement. So whether that's coaches or lawyers or something needs to change in that process, that separation agreement at the end lined up with everything that they've done to that point. And it doesn't. And I understand the reason it doesn't because it needs to protect them legally. But there's a huge problem with people signing things they don't understand. And to me, separation agreements are one of the biggest things.
mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yep.
I think like, if we talk about advocacy again, maybe there's a place for that. But to me, there's a huge gap that hasn't been addressed. And I think some combination of lawyers and coaches can hopefully do something with that.
Collaboration. I like it. See
Ding
another
ding.
question. Yeah. Would you say in the divorce process, divorce coaches can be viewed as the psychologists, therapists, and the lawyers can be considered the problem solvers in some cases, of course? Susanna, this question I get all the time. And it's always, what's the difference between a divorce coach and a therapist? And I am very frustrated with this question because there's a lot of professionals who think that there's
Not with you, Susanna, just with
no, not with you,
the
Suzanne. I don't know you, but you seem lovely. Um, what's really upsetting is that therapists and psychologists and they all have their own role as divorce coaches do. And therapists focus more on trauma and what happens from birth up into the point where they're at, and what they really have to work on to make themselves feel better and to face different things that they're dealing with to improve all of those things, which are lovely and important. And I think so many people need to have that support. Now, when you're dealing with a coach, it's different. It's moving forward. It's where you are now and how are you going to move forward. So you have one starting from the beginning to where you are now, and one now moving forward and how you're going to actually guide your client through specifically the separation process and how you're going to make them be the best versions of themselves going through this specific process. And there's many therapists who unfortunately will give clients advice that derail the process to a certain extent. And I just want people to be mindful that unless you're someone who can diagnose a client, you shouldn't be diagnosing and saying things like, oh, well, I mean, I'll just put that in a different way. I have people who come to me all the time and say, my therapist thinks my ex is XYZ. My therapist thinks my ex is bipolar. My therapist thinks this and that. And I'm like, wonderful. Has your therapist ever met your ex? Is your therapist able to diagnose? No, no, no. Okay, but they're really smart. Great. So there's different roles and different things, but you have to know what parameters you're helping the client in. And sometimes, if you are in this role of helping them with their separation and divorce process, you have to put things in perspective for them. But it is very different dealing with somebody as a divorce coach and walking them through the day-to-day life in their separation and how they're going to move forward and helping them with psychological issues, any type of therapeutic intervention, and things like that. So I cannot say that I think that they divorce coaches can be viewed as psychologists or therapists in a
I
nutshell.
think they are. I think that is a lot of the view, though. I think that is a
Yes.
stereotype,
Yeah.
right? That it's just there to deal with your emotions,
Yes.
and that's it. And it's kind of again how coaches have been defined by others and not us. So
Right.
are there counselor, therapist, more mental health coaches? Yes, and that may be what that client needs, right? But it can still happen in a coaching environment within those boundaries. Um, but there's absolutely a need for that type of coach, right? But it is very different. Yeah, I think lawyers can be problem solvers. Absolutely. I think that's part of their job is to resolve legal problems. And that's what I would want for my client. That's what I wanted for myself when it was my divorce. Um,
Hmm.
but they can add to the problems too. Any professional that works with this family along the way has the opportunity to help or derail.
Yep.
every profession, right? So it is teaching, training the public to know what they're looking for in a coach, teaching other professionals to go, I'm hearing this. Here's a couple of coaches that kind of have the right skills, I think, to work with you where you're at. And
Mhm.
there's lots of different kinds, right? And I think that kind of mental health therapist one is certainly a type of coach that is very much needed out there. But I think we all get lumped into kind of, well, we all do the same thing. And
Mhm.
that's just not the case.
No.
Nobody wants me counseling.
But
I am
but
Ted's laughing
how
because
many
she's been
clients will I send to you because you're an amazing financial specialist and you are able to guide them through all of the financials and make them understand it and help them along the way. So yes,
Yeah.
you're
And
right.
it's not that I don't need to know why they feel certain ways about certain numbers. But I can help you move forward, but I'm not going back and diagnosing your trauma. Like, I'm sorry you're here and I appreciate how you got here, but you
Yeah.
don't need me trying to help you through that. I'm very clear on what my boundaries are.
Well, and that's important, and that's why you're an accredited divorce coach. That's great. Is there any other questions or anything else that anyone wants to discuss? Okay. Suzanne, I hope that answered your question. Okay.
If not,
Well,
we had a fun conversation around it.
yeah, so thanks everyone for
We're
joining
sorry.
us today. Yeah, we're so happy to be here and to just explain a little bit about DCAO and what we think the value is. And we're just really interested in helping anybody and everybody understand that this is a professional organization to give divorce coaches really some support and ethical obligations and to have actually a professional name when it comes to the separation and divorce industry and how it is that we're able to establish that and move forward. So, if anybody wants to reach out and find out more about DCAO, or if you want to become a member and collaborate and be a part of this wonderful organization, definitely look at the website, contact us, and we're happy to contact you directly and figure out how we can move you forward in that.
You won't be sorry. Join us. Don't we seem like a lot of fun? Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.